fight when I saw that. So they did a good job on it. But I don't think they paid nearly enough attention to the danger that is Amanda Nunes. And I think that if they showed that, it would have made it even more compelling. Because Amanda's a fucking monster. That chick hits hard. She's ferocious. She's nasty on the ground, and she knows how to win. And she's an attacker. And if they just showed the highlights, man, just showed her beating up Miesha Tate, strangling her. They showed her putting it to people, man. The way she did to Sarah Kaufman. Or not Sarah Kaufman, Sarah McMahon. Dude, she's a beast. And so they didn't even really concentrate on it, and she was the champion. And I was like, well, that's silly. Like, I'm all for the showbiz part, but you're missing out on one star here. You're focusing on your current star and missing out on an opportunity to highlight a new star.
And by the way, and that's what I'm saying is that isn't the showbiz way to do it. The showbiz way to do it is to pump up Nunes.
Yes.
And to show that like if Vince McMahon was running it, I know that sounds crazy, but that's what he would do. Since he doesn't know who's going to win, he would pump up Nunes instead of Ronda. We already know Ronda. So when Ronda beats Nunes, it's like Ronda's back. You know
I had heard that Vince McMahon was thinking about buying the UFC when it was for sale.
Oh, I'm
you know how crazy that would have been if he took over?
He's bought all of his other competition except for boxing throughout history. And I don't think the UFC is obviously not competition, but I think it would have been interesting to see what he would have done. It would have been interesting to see if he would have let it keep building or if he would have just cut it out and disintegrated it.
Well, it's also interesting to see whether or not it's problematic to have a guy from the showbiz side of athletics, which there's no doubt about it, those pro wrestlers are fucking athletes.
Yeah.
You can't look at Brock Lesnar and tell me he's not an athlete. You can't look at John Cena, tell me he's not an athlete. The Rock, all those guys, they're fucking stud athletes, no doubt about it. Yeah, I don't know, the gay guy?
Yeah,
Sparkles?
That's the guy that, yeah, exactly.
Well, like when Brock Lesnar did that 360 flip in the air and landed on his fucking head and still finished the match, like, okay, that's... If you like Cirque du Soleil and you think those people are athletes, for sure this motherfucker's a serious athlete.
Yeah.
But there's also the fact that it's entertainment. So if a guy goes from that side of the business and then goes to the side of the business where it's supposed to be pure sport, which is the purest sport, MMA, right? And a sport that has always had a reputation, or at least the whispers of being fixed. You're always hearing about a fixed fight. Like in Japan in particular, you heard about a bunch of fixed fights. And there was a recent case where someone in the UFC had an offer to fix a fight but didn't go through with it. But there was evidence, apparently. There was a big story about a couple of weeks ago about the first evidence that someone was attempting to fix a fight. So even though it didn't get fixed, someone had tried to put influence on someone to fix a fight, allegedly. But in Pride, we know for a fact it happened. I know firsthand from people that were in fixed fights. I know from people that were told that a fight was going to be fixed for them. So it's not speculation whether or not there was fights that have been fixed in the past. So to have a guy like Vince McMahon come over and run things, there would have to be a very clear delineation.
I think he'd have at least really good ideas. I don't know if
dude, no doubt about it.
Miles an hour, but I know this: the Diaz brothers would be fighting. And it would be crazy shit. It'd be Conor versus Nick after the Nate thing, and it would be...
I think you're right.
And things like that, because he knows that pop. You know what they do is they just listen to the crowd.
Yeah.
That's how they write it. It's not like some thing where he's going to stick to some... Well, sometimes he does. That's why everybody hates that one guy, Roman Reigns, because he just keeps letting him win, which is like, for the first time, a storyline that we've never even heard of. Because the crowd hates this guy, but they keep letting him win. So now he gets nothing but heat. Nothing but booze, because we're like, fuck this guy, he sucks. Why? We know you're gonna let him win. It makes no sense. So he's fucking with us really good. But other than that guy, other than that exception, he listens to the crowd. And like, you know, I mean, it's just another perfect example. Looking back at the Nunes-Ronda thing, looking at that analogy, he would have focused on the Diaz brothers, and he would have focused on Nate waking up and smoking a joint and going for a run. Like, he would embrace that side of that storyline. Because that is the interesting part. That's what everybody's saying about, you know, the John Jones Cormier thing at that presser is like, I did cocaine all weekend and beat you up. But the Diaz brothers have been running triathlons while drinking tequila and smoking joints like it's nothing. Like, they don't even think about that. It's like how we have a cup of coffee in the morning. They literally smoke a joint. I read it in a thing. They smoke a joint before getting up and going on a 10-mile run. Get the fuck out of here. These guys are animals, and that should be embraced. That should be talked about. That should be part of their storyline. That's what I love about them, is because, by the way, even though I'm not a super athlete, that's sort of how I live. I like smoking pot. I like drinking at night with my friends. And I think I still can get my work done and do all that and have fun and be productive. And that's sort of where I connect with those guys and why I like their style. Granted, I'm a comedian. It's more fitting for my lifestyle to be able to smoke pot and drink. But I think that them being able to do all that's inspirational and goes to show you that you can have fun and work hard. And work hard and have fun.
Yeah, they're really unusual, too, in that most people associate triathletes and, you know, endurance athletes and the like that. You don't think of them as like thugs, you know, but you think of Nick Diaz, you think of him as this bad motherfucker that also happens to run triathletes. Yeah. He's not like some granola crunching, like he's a street dude who knows how to fight.
And at the same time, he is. You know what? I'll have another one of those.
Yes,
that'd be great.
Me too, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's funny because, like, yeah, they go both ways to where it's like, yep, that's a thug street dude who, if you look at his Instagram, you see him in those, like, little bicycle outfits that bike guys on bicycles wear. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, is that Nick Diaz wearing a fucking bicycle helmet? Get out of here. What?
He has a hilarious story about getting in a brawl in one of those things where people didn't know any better. Like, something happened, he was riding a bike, and he wound up getting in a fight with this other dude who's riding a bike. And a couple dudes at the same time. It takes one dude down, gets him in a heel hook, fucks his leg up, beat some other dude up, got back on his bike and drove off. But just they fucked with him.
Imagine that you're in a bicycle race and you're like, you know what, I'm mad at this guy. I'm going to start a fight with this guy.
Hey man, if you want to go looking for fights, you can find them. There's a lot of people out there that are just looking for fights.
I mean, if I was going to look for a fight, that's where I would look for. But a bunch of people racing bicycles.
You would think.
Right.
Boy, did you fuck up when you picked a fight with Nick Diaz.
Exactly.
You're like, look at this dude, his little bicycle shorts. I'm going to beat his ass. All of a sudden, you're like, why is my knee sideways?
Yeah.
Just rips. What a crazy move to do in a street fight. He heel hooks you, tears your knee apart.
Oh my God. But that's what's interesting, you know, and not only that aspect, but so many more with those guys. It's like, yeah, and they also look like street fighters that are going to punch you in the face, but they're also Gracie, high-level, black belt, you know, jiu-jitsu super artists.